Good evening, everyone. In both planes, because in the Spirit Center, we have the physical people, we incarnate, and also the spirits, those that coordinate this house, the mentors, our personal, individual guardian angel or mentors, and also spirits they bring to attend the talk as well. And spirits that comes more specialized spirit that is responsible for treatment. So during the time that we are here sitting, pay attention. So also we are receiving spiritual treatment. Did you know that? Yep. Yep. So the question is, your mind needs to be here. So in order to receive those treatment that the spiritual doctor brings to us, this doesn't only happen in Spirit Center, but any place in church, any place that has the objective of the meeting is to elevate, is to educate, and also to provide healing. But today is a special day. Special because we are talking about this man over there. If we search about how many books has been written about Jesus, how many movies, how many history has been told about him, we would say that he is I would say MVP, the most important person that this planet has had since the beginning of humanity. So, in the same point that is very grateful for us to talk about Jesus, we also need to acknowledge that become very challenging, because we are talking about, as we say in Spiritism, a pure spirit, a spirit that is a way ahead of us. So the question is, how can we talk about someone or the quality of someone if we never been there? Is this possible to do it? For example, if I ask you, if you have never been in China, for example, so, and never had read anything about China, what's the authority you would have to talk about China, for example? It's just an example, okay? So the question is, what the authority myself here, we have to talk about someone that's like a way ahead of us in terms of knowledge, in terms of moral, in terms of everything. But here is something very important. Although we are not too much concerned about the nature of Jesus, because it's very difficult for us to comprehend, but the fact that he came here and lived among us and brought different teachings, because when he came, the teaching that Jesus brought was revolutionary. Forgive others. You need to give the other cheek. You need to, love one another. So that this kind of teaching was not, part of the culture in that time. And still nowadays we have, we struggle with his teachings. It's beautiful, but to put this in practice become a challenge for us. So the idea today is bring a little bit about this man that we call Jesus Christ. But if you look at over there, I highlight the Christ. Why this name, this title is gave to him. So first, we need to understand what the word Christ means. Okay? So if we go to Greek, it's the origin of this word Christ comes from Christos. I don't speak Greek, so I'm just use my normal pronunciation, Christos, a Greek word that means the anointed one or the chosen one. for the Brazilian ones here, anointed means ungido. Ungido. You know what I mean? So, all the chosen ones. So, was a title that was gave to Jesus that what means Christ, you know? So, if you go in Hebrew, to Hebrew, means the Messiahs, you know? The Messiahs. In Portuguese, o Messias. So, that basically is the definition of the word Christ. So, the question is, if he has this definition that was gave to him, can we one day become a Christ? Yes or no? Yes? Yes? Well, let's, if Christ is a title, and so when we read the Bible in the Gospels, so at least in the New Testament, the word Jesus Christ is found like about 72%, 72 times. The word Christ, Jesus, is 91 times. Okay? So if you read the New Testament, this is like someone did the research and count how many times the word Christ, Jesus Christ appear in the New Testament. So although this doesn't change what Jesus was, doesn't change his personality, his nature, the name doesn't change anything, but the emphasis that is given by the name Christ means something different. So in this context here, the definition of Christ comes from the chosen one, the Messiahs. But then, if we go to the other definition that we can find in the dictionary, for example, Merriam-Webster, Christ means an ideal type of humanity. So when we say, so to conclude, so when we say Jesus Christ, the emphasis is in his humanity. You know what I mean? But if we say Christ Jesus, the emphasis is in the title that was given to him, the Messiahs. It's slight different. It's slight difference. Doesn't change the nature. It doesn't change it and doesn't change anything. It's just for us to understand. It's like, for example, if you are the president of a company, you don't call the name and the president. So you call president of the, company A. The CEO of company A. You know what I mean? So you put the quality before the name. Doctor, X and X, Dr. Mary, Dr., Vieira. So you don't say Vieira doctor. You know what I mean? Because it's the title that is given to that person. Well, the title is given because that person deserves the title. So we gave the title of Christ because it's the highest title. Okay, we'd say doctor, president, judge, but Christ is the highest, which means that you are 100% in knowledge, moral aspect, and also intellectual one. That's why we have just one Christ. That's why we have just Jesus Christ. So that's a good thing to know. And the ideal type of humanity means that we are destined to become Christ. So he, as we learn in Spiritism, he is the model and guide for a perfect humanity. We are on the path, okay? So in the Spirit's book, the question 625, Kardec asks, what is the most perfect standard that God has offered to humankind as the guide and model? And this is the shortest answer in the whole book. It's the only one that has just one word, Jesus. Why the enlightened spirit didn't say Jesus Christ? Why? Can we guess? I don't know why, but I can at least guess why. Because they didn't say Jesus Christ, just said Jesus. Because Jesus was the name that we gave to that spirit. The spirit doesn't need to give title to a pure spirit, because they already recognize Jesus as the most elevate spirit, in this case, spirit. And also because any of us can become Jesus. If one of us present here or in this planet one day become Jesus, Christ, not Jesus, become Christ, so then we're going to have more than one Christ. So it's going to be like Jesus plus other people. That, of course, I'm just like, elaborating here because this is not going to happen soon. So the answer was Jesus. Then Kardec makes this comment: Jesus is the highest standard of moral perfection to which humankind may aspire on earth. God has offered him as the most perfect model, and the doctrine he taught is the purest expression of God's law, because he was animated by the divine spirit and was the purest being that has ever walked the earth. So I highlight, humankind may aspire on earth, which means that he is our model, okay? He is the type of humanity that we wanted to be, okay? And Kardec recognized the grandeur of this spirit that we call Jesus Christ. So one other thing that when we look at the figure of Jesus is that he didn't allow himself to be dominated by earthly sentiments. What this means? That he came here, he saw how chaotic our planet was, how the society was, but he didn't let his feeling, his sentiment be, I would say, change. He understand, he brought his teaching, but he didn't, I would say, fail, because he didn't waste time with our me, or complaints that we still have nowadays. So that's one thing that differentiate superior spirit or pure spirit than ourselves that is still, struggling to become, at least good spirit. I wouldn't go to pure spirit because we have yet too many challenge to overcome. In this book, On the Way to the Light, that was psychographed by Chico Xavier and by the Spirit Emmanuel, this book is very interesting because this book brings the history of humankind, also the formation of our solar system, all the history of all the spirit that was incarnated in different, races, dynasty, not dynasty, but how do you call the Egyptians? Egyptians, the Greek, the Roman, how do you call those group of people? The civilization. Thank you. Thank you. The civilization. I was looking for this word, civilization. So the book talks about that. It's a history of humanity. It's the history of our planet, but also the history of our solar system. So in the first chapter, that's called Planetary Genesis, there is, I just put like 2 paragraphs, but they talk about, so for us to understand who Jesus was or who Jesus is, so this first 2 paragraphs talks about from where he came from. The chapter starts, the tradition of the spirit world says that in the governance of all the phenomena of our system, there is a community of purest spirits, chosen by the Supreme Lord of the universe, whose hands hold the guiding reins of the life of all planetary collectivities. This community, made up of perfected angelic beings, with Jesus is one of the divine members, has met in the vicinity of the earth only twice in the course of the now millennium to decide urgent issues pertaining to the organization and direction of our planet. So I highlight a community of pure spirit. So where this community of pure spirit is located? In the universe. They say in our system. When we talk about system, we are talking about the universe. A community of pure spirit. Community, which means community is not one spirit, it's several other spirits. Supreme Lord of the universe means God, okay? So, and in this community, the community is made up of perfect angelic beings, and Jesus is one of them. So it means that, and they say that this community of spirit has has met in the vicinity of the earthly only 2 times, which means that they have become close to the planet twice. For what? And then they're going to explain. The first meeting took place when the terrestrial orbit detached from the solar nebula. Nebula. So that the demarcation of our cosmogonic system and the prototypes of life in the faring matter of the planet could be set in space and time. So let's stop here, okay? Don't read the second time. So the first time was in the formation of our solar system. So when we talk about solar nebula, means that when, there was that we call the supernova, means a star, one star in the universe explode. So when they explode, a lot of chemical element, gases is formed. And then because of the gravitational force, those elements try to condense, to come together. So then the sun is formed, a new star is formed, and because that star, they have a huge magnetic field, and also the gravity that they create because of the mass of that star attracts the other element back. These other elements, they are forming, become together and forming planets, okay? So imagine that. So if you go to YouTube, you can see several animation about this theory about the solar nebula, which means that this community of spirit, they met to help to form our solar system. So it means that Jesus is responsible for the formation of especially our planet. That's why in Spiritism say that he's the governor of the planet Earth. There is other Christs that is responsible for Mars, from Jupiter, you know what I mean? All the other planets that we have in our solar system. So that was the first time they met to build this. And this was done, our solar system has between 5 to 6 billions of years. The universe is like 14 to 15 billions of years. Okay, the universe was formed based on the Big Bang. This is all theory, okay? And then our solar system, 5 to 6 billion years was formed, and our planet has the age of 4.5 billions of years. So after approximately 2 billions of years that our solar system was formed, the planet was also start to be formed. That formation, this work, is done by pure spirit. That Jesus is one of them. That was the first time. Now let's go back and see the second time. So the second time occurred when the Lord, Jesus, comes to the earth, was determined in order to bring the immortal lesson of his gospel of love and redemption to the human family. So first, he's responsible to build our planet, helping building the solar system, and then build our planet. So there is a planning in everything that happens in the universe. Everything follows laws. physical laws, of course, moral laws as well. And then the second time when humanity was considered a little bit more advanced, this was 2,000 years ago, then he came to bring another component, because in that time, 2,000 years ago, our intellectual was already developed. So before Jesus, 500 years before, we had a civilization, the Greek civilization, that was responsible to advance knowledge. Like when you read about Socrates, Plato, all these philosophers, they came first. And then they helped to develop our critical think. Then Jesus come and bring the message of love, the moral teachings. So now we have philosophy, and you have the moral aspect that can help us to evolve and to become one day a pure spirit. So if you wanted to read more about, so it's in this book, I mean, like, especially if you like history, if you wanted to know how, everything was built and the civilization, so why we inherit, culture from those civilizations, why we have the knowledge that we have, why we have this system of law that we have, because we somehow brought from those civilizations, okay? Why the moral teaching? Now, why Jesus decided to come and to bring the moral teachings? What about the intellectual? Okay, I don't think he was too much worried, because one thing that we all are is intelligent beings. So we learn in Spiritism that in the universe we have two main elements, the spiritual principle and the material principle. So the spiritual principle is also called the intelligent principle of the creation. Well, if it's the intelligent principle of the creation, we were already built intelligent. We just need to develop these intelligences. But then the morality needs to be, in the intelligence we develop by be putting in situation that we need to make choices, we need to survive. So then the intelligence is be building, okay? Now the moral, we already also has the seed of morality inside of us that we call, that is one of the questions of the Spirit's book, where is the law of God be? Where can we find the law of God? What the law of God, where the law of God is written? And the answer is in our conscience. But for this to blossom, we need to have this experience to live together, to build relationships. And Jesus came and add on this life in community that we have. Because sometimes we can become very smart, but the moral part is something that is difficult for us to put in practice sometimes. So why the moral teaching? So we can, because the moral teaching is a code of conduct for humanity, so we help us not to destroy ourselves, okay? Because if we don't have that, we're going to destroy ourselves. We already have 2 world wars that we all must destroy ourselves. We cannot allow the 3rd World War, because we're really going to destroy our planet. Okay, because now our intelligence is so advanced compared to 60 years or 80 years ago that we really can, if we don't have this code of conduct, the moral conduct, so we really will delay the progress of our planet and our progress. It embraces all circumstances of the private and public life. Well, we are social beings, so we have, of course, our individuality, but we need to live with one another. We need to work. We need to also take in consideration that there is a organization in the place that we live, in our neighborhood, in our house, but also in our city, in our country, that is responsible to implement and to make sure that we follow the rules and regulation of that place that we are. So it's the public life that we have. It is the principle for all the social relationship founded on the strict justice. Why I say that? Because we already have a system of justice that we, human being, has built throughout the time. You know, if we look at the way justice was applied 3,000 years ago or 2,000, it was completely different of us today. So that is, the first one was that, okay, so how do you say this, Paula? Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, yes. So that was one of the primordial kind of justice that we implement. But nowadays, it's not like that anymore. I mean, we may have some places in our planet that still use this justice, system of justice. Our system of justice today has other elements, you know. It is, finally, and above all, the infallible path to happiness to come, a corner of the veil lifted regard to the future life. It is this part that is the solely object of the work of Jesus, the gospel that Jesus brought to us, okay? So when we look at the figure of Jesus, the man, like one of the things that we in Spiritism acknowledge that he is a pure spirit, he was the governor of our planet, but he incarnated. Jesus never reincarnated here, okay? Because he was already pure. He incarnated, okay? Just once, okay? And when we look at his teachings, it's very difficult to define him as a religion person, because he was not a religion person. We give Jesus this denomination. We create religion after his name, but his example was very simple, straight to the point, and in the 3 years that he spent among us, I mean, we say 3 years because it was the 3 years of his ministry, we can identify Jesus being different, has different approach for different situation. So we would say that some part of his ministry, he was considered a doctor, a physician. Why? Because he was able to heal people. People are sick, and we have all this account that, you know, the leprous man was brought to him, and he was able to cure the person, to heal the person. The woman that was bleeding, you know, and he was able, even without talk to the person, it was just the person touching him, and she was healed as well. So we have many accounts of Jesus being a physician, really treating the body, the physical body, okay? And one of the things that we learn is that he always asked the person, you know, if the person was faithful. And when the person was healed, he would say, you know, your faith has healed you. So he attributed this change, even in the physical body of the person, to the faith of the person. So when he asked this question, so he was being a psychotherapist in that moment. He was being a mirror for that person, and also facilitating that person exercise his or her virtues of faith, of trust that there is a creator. Because faith is a virtue that we need to develop, you know. For example, everybody here, I hope, you have faith that this building is not going to collapse. Do you? And you know, because you have faith that the injury, that the people that building these buildings, they did a good job. So now imagining the governor of this planet, because this planet is a big ball spinning in the universe, you know. There is sun, there is the moon. So we are cool, isn't it? Are you afraid that the spinning might take a different route and create a chaotic environment for a plane? No, we are not. Well, if we have the faith of professional from our community, the doctor, if you go to a doctor if the doctor says, look, you have to take this medication, somehow you have to have some kind of belief that is will treat you well. You will like help to. He was a social worker, It's another quality that Jesus display. He was a social worker. So what a social work does? Is a question. What? The name you're saying, they work for the society, for people, helping people, So when he did his multiplication of the bread and the fishes over there, he was like helping feed hungry people. Of course, there is explanation for that part. We call that a miracle moment, But the teachings that he was, giving, the clarification, the Pharisees used to ask a lot of questions to him, and he was there, answer, clarifying, bring some of his knowledge. He was a spiritual master. When he goes to the synagogue, everybody was astonished by his knowledge. He was a medium of God. So for us, in the level that we are, so we are all mediums, according to what we learn in the mediums book. But mediums is that person that is the intermediary between the spiritual plane and the physical. So, for example, our Spirit Center has mediums, people that is ostensible medium. We have great mediums in this planet, like Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, Edgar Cayce here in the U.S., Andrew Jack Davison, and a lot of people that has demonstrated this capacity to interact with the spiritual world. But Jesus didn't need to interact with anyone. He was the medium straight from God. Okay, nobody was between him and God. So that's why we also say that he was a medium of God. And we know several passages that when he talked to the Creator, when he directed himself to the Creator as the Father, the Father, okay? So to finalize, because this is a short explanation about Jesus and the idea to talk about Jesus, especially in these months of December, is because if it's not for Jesus, we are not at least like 3 days of Christmas Eve, of Christmas. So let's thank Jesus for has come and we create, of course, I'm saying this, that Jesus didn't create Christmas. We create Christmas in follow the tradition of his coming to this planet. And so we know he is the governor, he is the guiding mother, and we know the history, how he chose to come. How was? Simple. With no place to live, basically, we know the history of the nativity history, like how things happen, So we're not going to go to the detail. We have many books, many movies, all the time during this year. So we watch movies, we live that passage or that situation where Jesus came to our planet. And yet, we should kind of forget that this time we should, concentrate in the man, in what he brought to us, not in the gift. But, there is nothing wrong to exchange gift, to shopping or to buy things for loved one, as long as the intention behind of this is not only material, okay? Because if the intention is only material, then we may have a problem. But because we live in a material planet, so we need to take care of our body. We need to take care of one another. So in some time, in the level that we are, happiness, it still depends on things. There are people that it's very difficult to be happy if they don't have things. You know, I'm not saying here about the necessary. The necessary is necessary, okay? We need to have. We need to live in this country here. It's a necessity has a car. It's a necessity to, you know what I mean, to have nice clothes because it's too cold outside. You cannot dress as the way it was this summer. So have things that is a good quality, that's fine. What becomes a problem is the superfluous, is the excess. And this we need to really think about it, okay? So we put guideline of salvation, which means is that everybody wants to be saved, you know? And the idea that we still have of the salvation is that someone's gonna come and save us. But from the perspective of Jesus' teaching, that's what not he came from. We want him to come and rescue us, and he can. But the idea is for us to follow the teachings, not wait for him to rescue us, okay? So here is some guidelines that we can bring. First, attachment. The attachments is a big, I would say, it's a big challenge for us. Because what's the line of what we need, what you don't need? What is the line? Tell me. What is the line, how much I have to eat, how much, you know, I have not to eat? What is the line? Is each one is an issue that belongs to each one of us. There is no rule for that. We are the one that needs to make the self-evaluation, okay? But then the attachment becomes a problem because we put our expectation in the external. You know? For example, there are people that is too attached to the body, you know? They are like completely addicted to the physical. I'm getting old, you have to put it this, I have to do this surgery. We respect that. But no matter what, we're gonna get old. But then that becomes something very drive the person's life, that become a priority. And the person forget other stuff, that we has phases in our life. The other day, my daughter approached me and she asked a question. I don't know exactly what's the question, but I know the answer. The question was if I was, okay, I know now. So during the summer, she asked me to go to swim in a pond. There is a place close to my house. It's not like a lake, but during the summer, people go, all the teenager goes and swim and play. It's not a swim pool because it's well protected, it's well organized. So she asked me, and I was driving for her last weekend, and she said, Daddy, this is the place that I came with my friends to swim, and it was very nice. We have so much fun. And she asked me, so why don't you come here? Why you don't come here to do the same? So it's an environment for teenager, okay? So I said, look, when I was your age, I did a lot of this. I really like, it's very fun, I agree with you, but I don't feel I need to spend my Sunday swim in a lake in an environment that is made for teenager. You're all of that. So I took the opportunity to tell her, look, we have phases in our life. I'm in a different phase of my life. Not saying that I'm not going to enjoy if I go with her or with children, but if I go, is to ensure that they are having fun for their phase that I already went through. You know, I would love to go back and play soccer the way I played when I was in my 20s, but I can't. My body is not going to respond to that. So I need to make peace with myself in the phase of the year that we are living. So when we are child, we play like a child. When we are children or teenager, we play like teenager. When we are young adult, we do things that young adult does. Then when we become more mature, we do things that age accommodate. You know, you don't want to dress like a teenager. You are, I'm almost 50, so I don't want to dress myself to go to work as a teenager. You know, I mean, like, you can, depends of the situation. But to say that is that in the lifetime that we have here, one lifetime, we go to phases. And we should enjoy each phase that we are. If we are in the 1 to 5, 5 to, and enjoy what we can do over there. But we cannot like be in a phase of our life and try to live another phase that we are not there yet, or we already passed. Sometimes we messed up with that, and we become so attached to that. The other thing that could be a problem is the attachment that we develop with one another. You know? It's very difficult because talking about family, I mean, like, we are very attached to one another, isn't it? And this weekend I experienced the death of my aunt. That was my sister aunt. She is like 5 years older than me. So we grew up together. So my mom called me and she said, look, she's in the hospital. She's not doing well. So I stopped everything. I called my mom. I called her husband. I did a prayer and said, look, let's prepare ourselves. Because when I read the message, what the doctor says, I said, there is no way she's going to come back from that. There is miracle, yes. But by see what science and medicine has developed, so we need to accept it. We need to cry, we need to become sad, but we cannot lose control of our life. Life is still go on. So, and I'm pretty sure she did what the best that she can do. So, if we get too much attached to the person, then we stop to live our life. You know? So, attachment, when we talk about attachment, we talk about material attachment, but also emotional attachment, you know, that sometimes can make ourselves not ourselves, because we are individuals that need to respond to the laws of the creation. And we can find this when Jesus says, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Okay? So we need always to ask the question, what's my priority in life? I'm taking time to also to take care of myself with my, my life here, what I'm doing with my life. Of course, I need to be a husband, I need to be a father. This is roles that we exercise in our society. But there is one thing that we come here is to the self-discovery. Are we doing that? Or are we just living for others and forgetting that we are complex beings that need also to have our work? There is a line between this, and we need to always do this check and balance. So which things I'm putting my mind, my heart, my priorities, okay? Forgiveness is one of the other thing that is very, and we brought here things that is very challenging, it's very difficult for us. It's very difficult for us. So if we can go through this, I think we already we give a big jump in our evolution. Forgiveness. I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. Is someone that has, slandered you, that has talked bad about you, or have caused something that make you suffering? How can we forgive? Okay, I forgive. Well, forgiveness is not something that we say, I forgive you. It's a feeling. So if it is a feeling, we need to work in how to deal with our sentiments, with our feeling. Because intellectually, we understand, okay, so was an accident. Intellectually, we understand, was an accident. But then inside of us, and we say, oh, we forgive. But inside of us, the movement, the energy that is inside of us is not forgiveness. We don't forgive because forgive require like not only the intellectual, but also all the emotional part that that situation generated. And to undo that, or to sometime the intellectual itself cannot help. I mean, we help a little bit, but not resolve the situation. Then comes something that we call time. We need to give time, for things to pass. And the last word, because we got three of them, is love. So when he said, like, this is in John 13:35, let love be the ruling principle of your life. Jesus said to those who followed him, by this shall all men know that you are my disciple, if you have loved one another. So love God, love your neighbors. So all these teachings and much more we can find in Jesus' gospel, in Jesus' teaching. But the question for us, and that's why we put the guideline for salvation, is that this movement of be saved comes from us first. Because we already have the models. Jesus is one. But also we have other peoples that has been lived in our society that can be a model for us. We have tons of cases of people that really, truly forgive. If you Google nowadays, you're going to find a lot of cases of mothers that lost their son that was killed or was, in an accident, or, and they forgave the person. And they show in their daily life that they forgave the person. Others, probably not in this lifetime. I don't know about myself because I didn't went through that situation. So we even don't know how we can behave when a situation comes to our life and we need to forgive. I'm talking about the very strong cases here, okay? But we have the little things in our workplace, in our family. There are people that don't talk to their siblings for years because fight, because discussion. So what can we do? Nothing, because that is the person's life, responsibility. And the Spiritism, we learn about the free will, isn't it? And Jesus will respect that. Jesus is not going to materialize and say, hey, you need to forgive your brother. You need to talk to your mother. You need to, because you are family. Well, Jesus is not going to do that. He already came and showed to us what to do. It's up to us. But, look, let's think about the formation of this planet. 4.5 billion. That time, he was already perfect. So, time for Jesus and outside of our planet doesn't count. Okay, if you die today, go to the other side, time doesn't exist in the spiritual world. Time is a metric thing that we created. So here, so we have time. So, but if you go to the spiritual world, if you go to other places, this unit, this aspect may not exist, So we are destined to be happy, or to be perfect. Well, to finalize, let's keep this in our mind. All of Jesus' morals are summed up in charity and humility. That is, in the two virtues contrary to selfishness and pride. Why we say that? Because in the Spirit's book we learn that what really stops us to progress is selfishness and pride. And so the opposite of selfishness and pride is charity and humility. So what selfish means, selfishness? Someone that is selfish. So they want everything to him or to herself. Okay? And pride means that you think that you are better than your neighbor. So these two things really, really will delay your progress. And when we talk about society, we are talking about the sum of all the individuals that live in the society. we say like this. We are in a planet of trial and expiation. Why? You and I. Why we're in the planet of trial and expiation? Because all of us, include myself, we have inside of us this little selfishness and pride. So that's why we are in this level. Some people has more, some people less, but we are in this level, okay? So when we say we're gonna be in the planet, in a planet of regeneration, that's the next level, which means that goodness will prevail compared to evil. Now, it seems that evil is a little bit more, 55% of evil in the sense that we are not doing all the teaching that we learned from Jesus, you know. So what happens is when you go to the planet of trial and explanation, that is going to be this planet, is not the planet that will change. Is we, human beings, that will behave different. Okay? If you are one of those person that is driving your car, drink a bottle of water and throw the bottle of water outside of your car, so you are not qualified to go to the planet of regeneration yet, because you don't think about the environment, you don't think about, you know, how to keep the law, because it's breaking the law. If you are one of the person that always speed up above the speed limit, like 10 miles above the speed limit and get a ticket, you are not qualified to go to the planet of regeneration. I'm guilty of that. If you are in this level, means that you are not qualified to live in a society that you are still breaking the laws. If you find yourself speeding a lot in the 695, you are not qualified. You need to stay here or move to another planet that has a 695 until you learn how to drive in the speed limit. Okay, I'm just joking to you guys, you know. But if we think, that's what the Spirit says in the Spirit's book. To be in those next level of planet, a place, we need to comply with all the rules and regulations of that place. To become a pure spirit, you need to comply to everything intellectual and moral that is expected to. You know? Can you believe it? Wow. They put the bar very high. In all his teaching, Jesus' teachings, he points to these two virtues as being the way to eternal happiness. We want to be happy. Which kind of happiness are you looking for? You know? Our happiness is still transitory. You know? It is the kind of thing like, okay, I bought a house, I'm very happy. After 5 years, oh my goodness, I'm looking for other house. I bought a car, oh, I'm very happy. You know, after like a couple years, I want to change my cars because always has a new model, you know what I mean? So but the question is, I'm not saying that you should not be happy. You should be happy, and you should take care of those material things because it's a concession from God. It's allow you to have. So the same way we need to take care of our bodies, we need to be put together, okay? We cannot like, oh, I'm very... how would you say, humble. I'm very humble. I don't, you know, this is just a physical life. I don't take care of myself. No, that's what not humility or humbleness is. This is like, is another thing. It's a laziness, another thing, you know. So it's you know, you need to be adequate. Depends of the environment you are. Okay. So I will stop here. If you have any question, comment. Also, I would like to extend my Merry Christmas and Happy New Year over there, since this is the last talk of our year, not only month, but the year, because we're going to be closed here next Saturday. So if you have any comment, any question, is now or never. Okay? If not, we're going to pass to the second part of our... You want to ask a question, Paula? A comment?
Someone has to. Right. No, thank you. That was a great summary and review and reminder of Christ's presence in the earth, and then what's happened since we turned it into a religion. You implied that it's at a different level. And I do think it's interesting that the land he walked is still in conflict, and it has to do with religion again. So we know we're still in evolution. And the one thing I think I caveat in my own thinking about following laws and rules, I agree with that, and speeding's a good example. We really shouldn't speed, but we know I do too. But the laws that are not keeping up with the times, that we as evolving spirits see are no longer morally correct. Like when I was in the school system, there were still states that allowed teachers to strike kids. So those laws, if we don't have some conscientious objectors, like at the time of the Vietnam War, we need some courageous guiding lights who appear to not be following that rule in the hopes that people will think about it.
That's excellent question, because that's what I have been learning with humanity, and we still can identify in the level that we are that some of those laws need to be updated. That's why Jesus always sent new people, a new generation, to push this environment, to create this implementation that we already seen, you know. And we don't want it to get political, but what we see, and being spiritual doesn't mean that we are not political. We need to analyze. What we cannot keep doing is take sides all the time. Because when we take side, we set ourselves to create problem. You know, one of the things that we learned from one of our spiritists in Brazil, when he was asked about, you know, why the Spirit Center doesn't take side compared to this candidate and that candidate. So, and the answer that this person said, I like very well, because he said, look, why we need to take side? The only side we need to take is up. Instead go left and right, you go up. Because that's the side we need to take. Because every one of us has our rights. Even though if you agree or disagree, that's fine. I don't agree with a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to disrespect because I don't agree. And the same way that a lot of people is not going to agree with what we think. So we need to respect that. Now, what is the problem when the problem is lying? Here in this book, Happy Life, there is a message by Joana Diante, I don't know which page is that can illustrate that. Joana says that when we make decision, and I'm saying that because she's direct this to individual, but our society is a collective of individuals. So what our society adopted with laws is a result of, you know, that community. An example, for example, you know how they decide to put traffic light in the street? Do you know what is the main thing? Because there is accident. So if there is an accident, for example, there is 1, 2, 3, and then the city put a traffic light over there. So when our society starts to identify issues in our society that need to be implemented, then we create laws. So in order for us to change our laws, drama needs to happen first. You know? So in order for us to have a society, so for example, the civil here in the Martin Luther King fought, what is the name? The civil right. The civil right to happen, people need to perish to pay with their life. That's the way we move on in our society. In a world of regeneration, this is not going to be like that. You know, things are going to be less broad, less violent. You know, but in the level that we are, because it's evil, or the way we interpret the law is still not the right way. So people are still paying with their lives. when we talk about the planet of regeneration, Paul, and you made a comment over there about the place that Jesus was born and the land that is still fighting, that needs to change as well. The planet Earth and the fight over the problem is not the land, is the spirits that are incarnating, reincarnating, dying, reincarnate over there. It's going to reach a time that the high spirituality is going to say, okay, that's enough. You're not going to reincarnate there anymore. We're going to reincarnate in that planet. All these people that is set to reincarnate in that region that cannot change, not follow the progress of the planet, will not reincarnate. That's the way it's going to do it. Simple. Okay? Leo, can you get the microphone in the back?
Thank you. Just a follow-up on Paula's question, a comment as well. And this is something that I also question quite a bit with some explanation within myself. And, as we study the natural laws and we know that the natural laws are written on our conscience, one of the laws that, we think that we take the word literally, the law of destruction, and is right there, very vivid in our lives today, especially in our bodies of laws as well. Since we are so temporary here, so is our laws. Everything is just temporary, and it serves for a group of people, a civilization, a specific period of time, and everything evolves. Those kids, in her comment, and I like to believe that the kids that were beaten by teachers back then, hopefully some of them, they became lawyers, they became lawmakers, that they are pushing the envelope to change that, and it did, obviously changed, because nowadays we see that doesn't happen anymore. There may be some still tough situation in schools that we need to change, but that definitely is that is changing. And suffering is one of the unfortunate things that really pushes us ahead, right? Because we don't want to go through, we don't want our kids to go through what we went through, in many sense, which in some ways are creating some other issues, but hopefully that will change as well. So I think that that is a change that also comes with the persona, the moral teachings that Jesus brought to us, in terms of getting out of our comfortable zone, right, or pushing us to the limit. In every way, every step, it wasn't easy. When you brought that he did not connect with the suffering in every level, he kept going. Those around him, he pushed those around him as well to continue to go and deliver the message, to comfort hearts, and telling them, look, it's not going to be easy, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that leaves us a very courageous message that we can take with us, since she brought this comment, that we need to really work so we change the environment, that we progress, that we help others progress as well, without taking side, right? Because when we go up, whatever side you are, you will be converging together. Just like a Christmas tree, exactly. Everything converges. Yeah. So I think that is definitely a good reminder. And putting religion aside, but whatever religion we follow, anybody follows, if we take that courageous movement that he brought to us, I think that we can accomplish a lot in this lifetime still.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Lou. Yeah, that's, we can spend more hours here and the rest of the night just talking about to try to understand all this teaching that Jesus brought to us. But I think for this Christmas, every end of the years is a moment that we take to reevaluate what we did right or wrong, what is our plan for the next years, and that's the beauty of have time, because the time help us to stop, think, and redirect where our life wanted to be. So when we talk about when we talk about laws, is delicate issues because every 10 years a new generation comes. All the babies that is born today, in 10 years, what we believe, what we do nowadays, is not. It's gonna be like, why are you looking at your cell phone? It's going to be a different thing. And because of the environment change and these new spirits that comes, it's going to look the old generation and crash. There is this crash between the new generation. So we need to attend. We need to be aware of that. I think, to finalize, I think the main message that we can do to be in a safe side is take the advice that Joanna brings to us, that is this self-discovery. We need to know ourselves, not only Joanna, but also all the great philosophers. We need to know ourselves. How do we know ourselves? Well, we need to observe our feelings. How do I feel like when someone cut me off in the 695? What kind of emotion I feel because this Christmas, someone is going to get a better gift than myself. My Secret Santa is going to give something that I was not expecting. How do I feel about that? How do I feel when I see my neighbor get a new house or new car or new... So how do I feel? How do I feel when I see my best friend or co-worker get married and have children? How do I feel? So this little thing. How do I feel when someone talk in a different way with me? That's the thing that we need to start to look at. If you feel bad, not wrong. As long as you acknowledge your feelings and also try to say, okay, how can I resolve this? How can I resolve, because I wanted to watch my sport and my wife wanted to watch other program, but then we become in a situation of it. How do we resolve that? In a way that we don't feel your feeling hurts, So this is the kind of thing that we really need to put as priority in our life. The other stuff will follow the course, We follow the course. So I wish everyone Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And because of time, let us move to our final, spiritual treatment, our passes, and let also remember that this time in the year is the time that all the high spirituality come very close to our planet. Why? Because we as a humanity, somehow we are in that mode of, Christmas, and this tells us how powerful the coming of the Jesus to our planet impact our society. You may ask, Daniel, what about those part of the planet or people that are not Christian, doesn't follow this tradition? It's not wrong. They follow other traditions that is similar, So at the end of the day, as we mentioned, like the best way is to go up, not to go left and right, And Jesus was the one that gave this example to us. You know what the example he gave to us? Imagine someone that betrays you, that follows your friend, kill your friends and people that is connected to you. And then one day you decide to get that guy to help you to disseminate your beliefs. Who does that? Tell me, who does that? Only Jesus. Because if it was not for Paul of Tarsus, we didn't have Christianity. I'm not saying that Peter and the other disciple didn't help, but Paul was someone that was a prosecutor of Jesus, and Jesus followed. And when Jesus needs someone to do the job that he wanted to do, who he looking for? So for Jesus, there is no right or left. There is no Republican, no Democrat. There is no, white or black. There is none. So for Jesus, everybody is brother and sister. That is the message we need to incorporate in our life. If we have prejudice against people because of different race, if we have problem because of that or that, so forget it. So look at Jesus. And you can find in his life that his approach is the best approach. And if I know someone that has the best approach for life, who I'm going to what's the approach I'm going to take? Those that know the best one. But since we are still in this process of evolving, we also need to respect everyone without judgment. It's not easy, but we can exercise this in our daily life. So may this Christmas bring this question to our mind. May this Christmas bring this conflict to ourselves. Because being conflict is good. It's not bad. Because the conflict is going to help us to, okay, wait a minute. Okay? We make us aware. Picture that. If you get lost, what happened to you? If you get lost, what happened to you? If you get lost driving, you forget everything. You forget the music that is playing. You forget if you are talking to someone in the telephone. You disconnect with the person. You say, I need to find myself. I'm lost. I'm in a conflict now. I don't know where I am. I need to act. So that's what's our life. Okay? So when you feel this conflict, so it's good because we become very aware. And when we become very aware, there is a huge chance to make the best decision. When we're not aware, our decision is childish because that's what children does. Sometimes they do because they are discovering things. They are testing. I think in the life, that in the moment that we are, we don't have time for testing stuff. We need to become certain that what we're going to do will deliver the best result. But it's an exercise, okay? So let us stop here because we have been already talking too much. I'm going to leave the first picture of this because I didn't talk about how this was. This is a picture of an actor or someone that, because we don't have any picture from Jesus. But there is beautiful description in Spiritist literature, a manual about how this was. Science also has released some pictures. And we believe that he was not much different of the way people was in that time. Okay? So let us put some music over there and prepare ourselves to receive the passes.